Yeah.
And we are live.
Well, let me see. Let me check
Yeah,
right
we
here.
are. It says live on mine, Charlie.
Well, it's not live on. It's not on your Facebook page. That's for sure.
What?
Not on your page. I'm looking at it right now.
It is. It is on,
Oh no,
bro.
it just came up. There's 7 people that was waiting. There's 7 of them. Now there's 8. Aloha, everyone, and welcome, welcome, welcome. How you doing, brother Mel? Today is the 13th Wednesday of the beautiful month of May, and we are
It's Wednesday the 13th.
yep,
Wednesday.
Wednesday the 13th. Yep. And we still get people asking for shirts.
Oh my gosh.
We are winding down. So, folks, for those 33 of you that want shirts, we're winding down the Mel and Charlie shirt, and we got the Doodle Boy shirts. And hopefully, we can do a presentation to the Hawaii Community Foundation with a sizable contribution, doing our part, aside from getting all the information out there and something like that.
Well, I know we're on very early, so we're just going to shoot
Yeah,
the
shoot from the
doo-doo.
hip. Shoot from the hip, brother.
Thank you guys that were here last night. Those of you that showed up last night for a very interesting, informative session. Thank you all, and I really appreciate you guys tuning in. Tonight, we're going to go back to the COVID-19 discussion. And we have 2 gentlemen tonight that's going to be on. And I'll repeat this again because it's too damn early to be introducing these guys. They're not even here yet, but Representative Bob McDermott and Representative Gene Ward from Oahu, House District 40 and House District 17. And they are going to share with us what they see going forward. We did have, today was an interesting day. If you guys watched the press conference, I was able to tune in and started my watch party. So I know a lot of you guys did get to watch. And I think a lot of you guys share the frustrations. It's been 2 months already, and we're hearing the same stuff from the state. We're hearing the same stuff from the governor. We're hearing the same stuff from Bruce Anderson. And I'm not impressed at all. And I would just shoot hard and aim straight. You two kick ass. Oh, I love it. Love hearing you two are funny, and we need now that in our homes. Absolutely. We try to bring a little bit of humor, a little bit. And if you follow Charlie,
yeah,
there's a lot of humor. Charlie's jokes on Facebook rated PG 17, maybe.
Yeah.
Not PG 13. Definitely not
PG 15.
Nakamatsu. I messaged you last week for shirts, but I haven't heard back. Yeah, I didn't get it. So yeah, use Messenger to Mel. Terry, I apologize. I didn't get it. I'm not sure why. Why don't you go ahead and shoot me a messenger right now, actually, and I can tell you if I get it or not. Not sure where it would have gone, but yeah, Mel. It's just Mel Raposo. That's it. You have my ugly mug up there on the little picture. Oh, we got a bunch of people. PG 19. Yeah, there we go. Should be PG 19. But anyway. Hey guys, hit the share button right now. Hit the share button. Start a watch party. I think tonight gonna be fun. When we're gonna shave Mel's head. You guys keep asking. When somebody donate $1,000 to Hawaii Community Foundation, I will have Charlie shave my head live on Facebook. Okay, but we ain't doing it for free. The bids start at $1,000. So anyway, share this thing. We got the 2 guys in the waiting room. We're gonna make them wait a little while longer, only because we can. I know they're watching this on Facebook Live, so they probably heard that. But yeah, guys, share it. Let's get this thing out. The other thing too is the shirts. Okay, this shirt's no longer available, but as you know, this one is. Don't be a doodle boy. Okay, don't be a doodle boy. And there's the text. It's really nice. All the sayings from this crisis. And of course, on the bottom, thank you, Mayor Kawakami, for coming up with that, or not coming up with it, but reminding us about doodle boy. And some people actually took offense to that. To each his own, but you know, I think for those of us that born and raised here in Hawaii, we understand exactly.
Hey, brother, we got Sandy right here. She says, Don, if you throw in one Doodle Boy shirt, she'll put up the $1,000 for cut your hair.
Who?
Sandy Howatt, Howatt.
Well, that's the starting bid.
Yep. You look nervous.
No, I'm not.
Just to let you guys know that I'm real good. I get steady hands, okay? So just, I know it looks like it's shaking, but that's how it is all the time. So this is what I'll be holding the clippers with, okay? Okay, gang?
Kelly is saying she'll donate 1,000 if she can, or he. I'm not sure if this is a guy or girl, but I will donate 1,000 if I can do the shave.
There you go.
Anyway, this is where we're at. If you're serious about that, hey, shoot the $1,000. Oh, there we go. Terry Nakamatsu. Okay, Terry, I got it. So you can go ahead and put your order in, and I'll shoot you the link for payment. Thank you. It did come through. This is where we're at. We wanted to raise $1,000. We're up to $3,500 right now. We want to go to 5,000, and then we'll donate the 5,000 to Hawaii Community Foundation. And if you weren't on when Darcy was on, great organization. This is going to go to the Kauai Fund. So that money is going to be used to help people on Kauai. So we need $1,500 more. The $1,000, that's separate. That to get my head shaved, that's a completely separate deal. But that will also go to Hawaii Community Foundation. But the $5,000, once we hit that, we're gonna knock this stuff off. So for those of you that want to donate, the shirts, $15 a piece. Message me in Messenger with your sizes. I'll send you the link. This is not going to last long, I can promise you. Just with the Doodle Boy shirts, incredible. We sold a bunch of them. So with that, Charles.
Yes. Well, we are.
Share it, because we're going to bring those two guys in.
Yes, we are. We are very, very happy to have with us tonight representatives from Ewa Beach, Bob McDermott, and Hawaii Kai, Gene Ward. It'll be interesting.
They're coming in. There's Representative Ward. We need you to unmute, Representative Ward. If you could just unmute.
I said, aloha, guys. How you doing?
Oh, there you go. Aloha, Representative.
Hey, and there's,
I have met already the host, but I've never met Charlie yet. Or both of you guys are hosts.
Yes.
Charlie,
how are you? I am from your district. I lived there. I lived at the Esplanade. I had my
No
apartment
kidding.
there.
Hey,
Yeah.
I work for you, Charles. What happened? You moved away.
Yes, my wife and I decided to move to Kauai.
And you've never regretted it since. And now you're, Mel, I really hear good things about you. You guys you got humor, you've got information, you got all these rock stars. It's a pleasure, Bob McDermott and I, getting on with you, actually.
well,
Yeah, there it is.
You guys are the rock stars tonight. You know, we've been doing this now pretty much since the beginning, for both of you. And first of all, Representative Gene Ward from House District 17, Representative Bob McDermott from House District 40. Thank you guys for being here. Bob, you got some audio? Can we hear you?
I'm trying to get it set up, Mel. Just give me.
You're good, buddy. You're
I
good.
can hear you in Hawaii.
And just, I did a little bit of research. Representative Ward, Vietnam veteran. Representative McDermott, Gulf War veteran. Thank you too for your service, gentlemen. And
Yes,
we really
thank you.
appreciate you guys taking the time to be with us tonight.
You hear such
Hey,
great
Mel.
things, Mel. Our pleasure. Do we have to pay you, by the way, to be on the show?
Yes.
We,
Yes.
we hear good things. There's a few hundred people watching, so in honor.
We have some fun. We get really serious, as you will see very shortly. There is no rules on this show. So
Oh,
yes, many of your colleagues have come up and it's all good though. It's
Yeah.
we are here to inform and educate. The news, the media doesn't necessarily get into the nuts and bolts of what's going on, and the only way we can get people informed is to get you guys on, because you guys are in the trenches. But I think
pleasure.
this is the kind of fun we have. This is the kind
And you
of
know,
fun.
Representative McDermott is good for his one-liners too. Don't be a.
Oh, I hope. Don't be a. Wait for it.
Dude. Okay. And now I can see why they say there's humor on this place. Covidians.
And real quick, and when we'll get into it, but real quick, our mayor was on one night and we were talking about, he coined the phrase Covidiot way early on. And when he was on a show a week and a half or so ago, he said he called these people that are violating the rules and not doing what they're supposed to do. He called them doodle boys. So,
this is all Gary Kawakami, our good buddy from the house before. Yeah,
right
interesting.
Eric Kawakami. So anyway, thanks again. This crisis is it's just really like a hemorrhoid. It just never goes away. It's a pain in the ass. And
Okay.
we want to hear from you folks, based on you in two separate districts. But what are your constituents? What are your constituents feeling right now? I mean, everything is upside down. I watched the governor's press conference today. I'm more confused than I was yesterday, and more frustrated than I was yesterday. But please, if you guys don't mind, share, and you divvy up however you want to. Who want to go first? We're
Ahoy Kai will yield to Eva Beach.
Hey, Mel, it's Bob McDermott here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
absolutely loud and clear, my friend.
I just want to let your constituents know, or your former constituents know, that a couple of years ago when you came down to the legislature, you fought like hell for them on that rail tax, the scam of the TAT, taking some money away from your Kauai. And the point of it is, you fought like hell for them because you felt your constituents were getting screwed. And a lot of people didn't see that, and they got very heated. And I just want your people to know in Kauai that you felt personally that your friends and family were being harmed by this policy. And my God, you jumped in with both feet. So that was my first exposure to you. So good on you, my man.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you very much. You got a good memory.
Yeah, well, it was hard to forget.
Yeah, I still get nightmares about that day, boy, I tell you. But
well, the arrogance of some of the guys who questioned you, that was the insulting part, I think.
Okay, that's code for low prestige. I'm sorry.
But, we all treat each other with respect. We disagree. But you fought like hell. That's the point I wanted to make.
thanks, Bob. Thank you very much. All right.
So,
COVID-19.
Yeah. So Gene Ward has been a huge advocate of testing from day one. Part of that goes back to his Peace Corps days, his USAID days, and he was out there screaming about testing before anybody else. And so I'm on the COVID committee. I'm the only Republican. So Gene and I got together and said, we've got to do something because you're confused, Mel. I'm telling you that they don't seem to have a plan going forward. And Gene and I are going to release a plan on Sunday night about protecting local people. Gene, why don't you jump in?
Yeah, I was going to say, Mel, the goal is to make Hawaii the safest place to visit in the world, the safest place to work in the world. And right now, there's a lot of leakage when people are going to be coming into the area, and a lot of people who work in the hotel industry. We want to make it where, the old mantra is if you build it, they'll come. If the new mantra is if it's not safe, they won't come. And the new mantra of the other one that used to be sand, sea, and surf, now it's sand, sea, surf, and safety. Getting into an airplane of 300 people and not knowing who may be coughing and hacking, who's never been tested. So Bob and I say, Hey, test people before they go. We talked to Josh Green, say, maybe you can do Walgreens. If you saw the press conference today, he's saying testing should be there. And then you got to turn around and then Anderson said, well, testing doesn't really prevent the spread of the disease. Well, I can't see anything farther apart than that. So Bob and I are saying, when they get here, they should already be tested. They get temperature checked at the airport. They got the guy that then goes to the hotel. And the hotel workers have already been sure that their colleagues have been tested. So there's a place where it's safe. We want to be the COVID-free flight to Hawaii, the COVID-free hotel to Hawaii, the COVID-free vacation to Hawaii. Not everybody is talking about testing. They're talking about tracing of people who are there, but until you know who's got it. Case in point, Mel and Charles, you go into the White House, you guys want to get into your appointment? Get over here and get tested. In 5 minutes, we got your results. That same Abbott ID Now machine, we can buy, we can put in, and all the flight people can be covered. So in a nutshell, it's making Hawaii a safe place, because if we don't, they're not going to come, or they're going to come in numbers, and we're going to have all kinds of hullabaloo trying to get them into a hotel.
Mel and Charles,
Yes.
you already know what's going to happen. We have 1 case a day, 2 cases a day. What happens when we reopen up and say we only bring in 10,000 visitors a day instead of 30? Our viral load is we'll have 200 cases in a day. And our local people will be pissed off. And we can already see some of that happening. So we want everybody to be safe. We want all travelers to be tested 72 hours, within 72 hours prior to departure. It's not foolproof, but it's the best we can do right now. But Gene and I have looked at the budget. There's no money for that sort of testing. All they're going to do is a thermal temperature scan, which is, it's something, but it's not what we need.
And contact tracing, that's still not testing, it's contact tracing.
That's closing the barn door. That's closing the barn door after the horse got out.
Well, what's been happening? I know we had 3 today, and the other day had 1. And I kind of was trying to find out about the 1, but then I know the 1 came to the airport, and correct me if I'm wrong now, they came to the airport, thermal testing revealed had a fever, was taken by ambulance to do testing, and then sent on his way to home quarantine. And then I believe the next day, the result came back positive. My fear is from the time from the airport to the home, he probably made a couple stops.
Yeah.
So the thing is, that's where I think the scary part starts to play. So the other thing was from the onset of our show here, and we asked the lieutenant governor this. They asked about HIPAA. I don't want to know who the guy is. I just want to know where he's been, because if you post that he's been to Long's Drug on this date between this hour of time, I can say, hey, I was there. Maybe I should go get tested. We can be helping the system instead of being far from the system.
But what Bob and I are proposing is that guy would never get out of the airport and have that test, because if before he got on the airplane was tested and said he was not positive, and then he had a temperature check before he even got on the airplane, when he gets off at your airport, he should be kosher. He should be clear already. And that's why we can't wait till they get here to test. And that's why Bob and I are kind of pushing this thing uphill, because people haven't even seen it in that direction.
So Charles and Mel, constitutionally, we can't impede someone's right to travel in California. We can't tell them they can't come to Hawaii. But what we can tell them is when they arrive, if they haven't gone through this testing procedure, they're going to be stuck at the airport for 12 hours like customs, and they got to get tested. And if they test positive, they're going to a quarantine, but a real quarantine run by the National Guard. It'll be in a hotel with air conditioning and all that, but they're not going to do this bogus quarantine where it's no quarantine at all. And the visitors are just flaunting it.
I gotta tell you, if not for social distancing, I'd hug the both of you right now.
Why? Why are you like that?
Because Charlie and I and all of our viewers and guys, share it. You can see where this is going, and it's a great show. Share it, hit the share button right now. But we have been saying these things. The lieutenant governor was on early on, talking about the importance of testing. We had Dr. Miskovich on telling us about the importance of testing. We've had so many people, everyone except the governor and the Bruce Anderson
And Sarah Park.
believes that we need testing. We've
Hey,
had
we also had Mufi on for the hotel lodging and tourism, saying to make it safe for even the hotel workers, be tested before they come, because if you can't, nobody's going to be safe.
Right. And we want the hotel to be tested once a week, along with the airline employees for their own safety. So the employer will pay for that, of course, but everybody's going to be tested, and we can be safe and prosperous.
Let me go back to one of the things Bob said about local pushback. You guys have seen the signs in Molokai. Hey, tourists, go home and take your disease with you. We don't want, this is our domain here. Imagine that in a magnified way where people actually got it, died, and then like, okay, I don't know if we would go back that far, but the dormant memory when the whalers and the sandalwood guys came, devastated people with measles, syphilis, and all the other stuff. That is not a good sign when we bring in more without using our head to test first to rile up the local people. And you know, the General Hara said the other day, hey, if we don't open up again economically, we're going to have civil disobedience and to the extreme. And he used the R word. He said rioting. Now, that's probably not probable, but the fact that they're envisioning something where if we don't do this thing well, we could screw it up very, very badly for our economy.
So we're going to...
We have that opportunity now, and I'm dying to hear you guys plan next week. But we have an opportunity now to do it right. We have an opportunity to create a very safe destination for everyone. But
right on,
at the rate they're going, somebody's kupuna is going to die, and that's going to trigger the behavior that we don't want to see. That's just exactly. It's bound to happen. And I'm, you know, I know people say I'm overreacting, but just follow the trends everywhere else. Follow the trends everywhere else. We're no different. Our bodies are no different than those on the mainland.
Good point.
So Mel, we have the opportunity as an island state to actually control our borders, right? So Great Britain is going to start testing air travelers. Taiwan is testing air travelers from high-risk areas. So we can do this, but I'm telling you, I don't see the appetite from David Ige, or Bruce Anderson poo-poos this. And we're going to bring a viral, imagine the poor flight attendant, 24-year-old Hawaiian girl, goes to JFK, picks up 400 passengers, maybe 5 or 6 of them are COVID positive. She takes it home to her tutu, and then she's maki, right? So that's what we want to avoid.
And the lawsuits that will follow with that. You know, the unions, if it's a hotel worker or if it's a steward, these things, the lawyers are going to have a field day. So in a way, we would be protecting ourselves by doing this kind of preemptive testing, not rocket science.
Well, we want to protect the employees as well.
I want to ask you guys a question, because this question I've asked so many times, and I mean, I don't think anybody really knows what is the reason for the governor and Bruce Anderson's, why is there such an opposition to testing? From early on, when he made the statement, testing doesn't do anything for the state, it's a snapshot in time. I watch their press conferences every day, almost every day. Today, he kind of said the same thing. He didn't use those words, but he, basically said the same thing. And he said the only thing that will get us through this is social distancing. That's a bunch of BS. We know.
I'm as confused.
I just trying to figure out what's in his head.
It's as if you want a perfect scenario of 100% guarantee. The best guarantee is going to be where you do test and then you do periodically sampling, the way they do it in the White House. They're going to do this thing very, very regularly. And what their logic is, and I think it's their medical education stops beyond what they see in terms of probabilities. When you've got something that you can't actually control entirely, you give your best academic kind of pedantic kind of position. I mean, those guys are very educated, but they don't see the bigger picture, and they're at 35,000 feet when they say, look, because it's a one-time, you could pick it up from the airport with a taxi. They don't see the overall bigger picture, because we're never going to start our economy with the way they're thinking. And that to me is very, very dangerous. Those two guys, what did Tulsi Gabbard come out with 2, 3, 4 weeks ago? She said the guy should resign. He's anti-testing.
Well,
Yeah, we had her on the show, and she's not happy either. But I mean, I've seen the Senate committee. I've watched them just put these guys through the ringer, but they don't. It doesn't matter. They're not changing their mind. That today, that 3 cases today. Apparently today we find out because a media person asked the question. This is another thing that pisses me off. The media has to dig this out of the health director about the cluster. This 3 today is a family cluster coming from Camp 4 housing. And I don't know if you saw this, and apparently the media person, the reporter, had called the management of that housing, and the reporter was informed that the state had not made any efforts to go talk to anybody in the housing. And Bruce Anderson comes out and he said,
Yeah.
there was a language barrier, which is, that's bullshit. You cannot use that as an example. I mean, as an excuse. Language barrier. No.
Even their tracing and their quarantine, the way they say it's the one that's being followed strictly. I mean, good local and otherwise compliance, but in terms of the actuality, it's pretty loosey-goosey the way that they're doing that. It's not tight enough, and maybe Bob and I are too much out front and maybe saying the way we should do stuff, but inevitably, I think people are going to arrive at that. I know Josh Green is there, and there's a lot of people that say, well, Josh Green says it, and maybe 10 to 12 days later, people will kind of get it and pick it up. He's been very diplomatic. If you saw what he did today.
What would Mel and Charles? What's David Ige going to do when our numbers all of a sudden spike? When they open the doors and our numbers go from 1 or 2, 3 cases a day to 500, now we got 500 cases. What is he going to do? He's going to shut down the whole thing again.
And then the rioting is going to start. Then it's going to
Representative Okimoto said to tell you folks hi. She just jumped on.
Oh, hey,
Girl.
Favorite Kauai girl.
She'll be on tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night, she said, yes. She said, be good to my island people. But remember, Charles used to live in Hawaii. Charles, I used to work for you before you moved away from the condo you were in.
Well, sir, my son is watching, and he lives right next door to the Stanford Car Project, right next to the Esplanade. He lives there.
Oh, okay. So you still got a bit of a foot into Hawaii Kai as it goes.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Okay.
You know, I'm curious. I'm curious to find out what that number is. At what point? Because the way they're moving, things are going to open up relatively quickly.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out at what number will they say, "Oh, time out. Let's start to ease back on the freedoms." So let's. I don't know what that number is. Is it 10? Is it 15 a day?
Mel, I've been thinking about this. Why the reluctance to implement a rigorous, safe plan when we have the time right now to do it? And I've got to believe that they're ignoring it. It's got to be the money. It's got to be the hotels are losing so much money. We know Hawaiian Air is losing money every day, 3 million plus. The pressure that must be on the governor, just open it up and we're going to take the risk. But we don't need to take the risk. In fact, I would suggest to you that it's criminal. The negligence borders on criminal if we take this risk, because we can stop 90% of it. Not all of it, but about 90%, I think.
And that's real. But let me tell you, in somewhat defense of the governor and Dr. Anderson and Park, there is a real possible second wave. And my office up until yesterday would trace the deaths and the cases all over the world every day. I looked at all the numbers. Japan opened its schools too quickly and they had to shut them down, and they had a respiking when they were really going down. It looked so good. They opened up and boom. So you can't do it too quickly if you use the numbers and you don't keep the strict social distancing and other protocols. So what they're saying is true, but look, there's nothing risk-free, but they've got to be both scientific, medical, but also in the sense of what economically that people are going to do. Bruce was asked today, is there any increase in suicide? He kind of danced around that because we know the HPD is reporting a lot of domestic violence is up, a lot of theft is up. And if you guys have been driving on the road, there's a lot of people speeding. At least that's been my experience. People zooming all over the place. So our society's not built to do what we're doing. We're a race car and we're sitting in the garage and we're just kind of idling. That's not going to work.
Well, we had this discussion on the onset, and we had Minnie Ko from South Korea was on, and then the former in the cabinet. I think she was with Jeremy, and then after that a little bit with Mufi. But and what she said, and I brought up this thing, and that is, we have this balance that we're confronted with, right, on how to open and how to be safe. I always said that if we got everything scrubbed clean, which we do have now, and we know where the virus is, we know for a fact the virus came from the outside. They just did not sprout in our Hawaiian Islands. So I've been,
Right.
and I have been crying this chant, and that is, don't let it come in.
Bingo.
Let it, because we're lucky. We're an island state. The buffer is the ocean. The states in the mainland, they got a rough time because you can enter the state from all different angles. We're
George,
lucky.
you know what Bruce Anderson said today? It's never going to go away. It was like, this is like we're going to hell in a handbasket, the way I took it. It's never going to go away. Now, do you and I talk about the Spanish flu or the measles that decimated the Hawaiians earlier? I mean, we've got this thing, we're going to put it on the ash heap of viruses because that's who we are as a people. We're not going to let this thing go on and on. So we got to do these practical things and move on with the way that South Korea tested and these other places that are opening up. And there's lesson learned without reinventing the wheel.
Right.
South Korea opened up. It was one nightclub that created just a havoc for that country. They didn't close their borders. Everything was wide open. Everyone was coming in, but their testing, their isolation was so tough. I mean, you test positive, the results came back at 2 a.m. Somebody's at your door at your hotel picking you up and taking you to the isolation facility.
The COVID SWAT team.
Right.
Yeah, but
that's a good one.
That's how they isolated, and that's how they did so well. But again, and this is where I worry, because our numbers are so good. It's very tempting to go ahead and open up because we're so good, but yet we have that influx of visitors, the unknown, potentially dangerous people like Korea did. And all it does, it takes one guy. This one guy that came from Arkansas, came on Monday. We don't know where he went. The state doesn't know where he went. And he's positive. They find out on Tuesday that he's positive. They don't know where he went.
Well, you're giving me an idea, Bob. Maybe we should say, okay, if you're from China, you got to be tested before you get here. Then people will get the idea, particularly if you're from Wuhan. If you're from Wuhan, you got to get tested before you get on the plane. Then people can say, oh, yeah, I see what you guys are trying to say, instead of all this other thing where all these other benign places in the world. Because there's a lot of places where it's still going, even though, Bob, you say, because your wife is from Samoa, that there's nothing in American Samoa, not even one case?
As of right now, but we don't know how rigorous their testing is, to be quite honest.
Oh, back to testing.
But they have no reported cases.
Okay.
South Korea hired 85, somebody just posted this. South Korea hired 8,500 more personnel for testing today. That's
85 more?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
You know what they're doing.
You come to Hawaii and it's really doesn't do much for the state. Something wrong.
Anderson was bragging he could do 3,000 or 5,000 or 15. I mean, it was really small numbers, but they were bragging about it.
Bob?
You ought to make a point that money's not an issue here, Mel. They got so much money from the feds, 20 million for temperature scanning, all these personnel and people positions. That's going to be an issue for us if we want to do a rigorous, people say, where's the money come from? There's plenty of money there right now, these federal dollars, but it's not being put in a rigorous, system where we ask them to be tested prior to departure from the mainland. And we can't forget, Mel and Charles, that, local kids who go to Vegas or whatever, they got to get tested before they come back too.
Yes.
Because, they're going to bring it to their families and as Gene told you, I'm married to a Samoan, right? I got sons. So if one of my 24-year-old boys comes back from Vegas and he's asymptomatic, I'm not going to be able to keep him in his room for 2 weeks. And aside from that, he doesn't have his own room. He shares it with 4 other people.
Whoa, the spread.
Yeah, you bring up a very good point because it's not just the visitors, it's
Right.
the returning residents. These people, again, I said this a few nights ago or a week, I don't know, I'm sure I pissed some people off, but how we consider the visitors coming here to be selfish people, the local residents that are traveling during this time for non-essential purposes is no different. You're going and mingling with people somewhere else that you could come back just the same as a visitor could and spread that doggone virus. So now is not the time for that.
Wasn't Molokai travel related to Vegas? No.
I don't know.
It was
Molokai
visitors
yeah,
from the
Vegas.
mainland.
It was Vegas.
Was it Vegas?
It was Vegas.
It was Vegas.
Yeah, that's a hot spot, right? Vegas is one of the was a hot spot at one point. So, and we'd love to go there. So,
With the good Senator Nishihara you're talking about.
yeah. I mean, I don't want to dog him, but he went to Vegas, came back. He felt so sick that he went to get tested at a time when they were only testing people who had symptoms, and he should have known better. And then he went to the Capitol, and the next day we locked it down. Gene Ward was screaming, "Test everyone on the floor."
I mean, before we shut down, I was saying they should be testing those people that were Uber driving to that doctor who was on the 4th floor of the public access room. They wouldn't test. It's kind of a, I don't know, a
was
negative reaction.
Huge frustration for us here, not being able to get tested. No, I mean, if you and Dr. Anderson said at the press conference, we're only testing people that we believe are positive.
And Mel, the asymptomatic, this is a very tricky virus. If you're asymptomatic and you don't show any signs, of which they did when they did some prisoners tests, it was like 80% of the people were asymptomatic who got it, which means you've got to really watch this thing dodging and weaving all around. And if you're not testing people, I mean, you got to go through this criteria. You got to have this, a fever, you got to have that is foolishness. When the White House machine, it's called the Abbott ID Now. Abbott ID Now costs about $4,500, maybe $5,000. You can do a 5-minute positive check, 13 minutes for negative. And Bob is saying we line up a few hundred of these at the airport if we need to, but they should be tested on the other side, of which tomorrow we're going to talk to Hawaiian Airlines what they think about it.
We don't want to test them. We want them tested prior to their departure. But as a backup, we get 400 machines. That gives us a capacity of 9,600 a day, which is 1/3 of our old visitor count, right? 30,000, so it's 10,000 a day. But we don't want to test them. We want them to be tested prior to departure. But when they get here, we need to have the capability to test them before we release them from the airport area. Now, David Ige does have the power during a pandemic to confine them to the airport area until they're tested. We've done legal research, and that's part of our package as well, because there were some constitutional questions we had to answer. So if they test positive, then they go to that isolation facility or quarantine, but a real quarantine run by General Hara, not this half-assed, sneak out of your bed and breakfast. It doesn't work.
But the difficulty has been, though, we brought this question up before about having a government-run quarantine. And we kept on getting the runaround, both Mel and I, that a government-run quarantine, they're running it through the AG's office. And for some reason, the answer always came back, it eluded us. It's like, what's so hard about having a government-run quarantine, especially during an emergency like this? I can't understand that.
Charles, did you ask for National Guard, or you just said government in general? You didn't say National Guard. This is what Bob and I were saying. National Guard, get them in the bus at the airport, bring them to Fort DeRusia where you can watch them. They can have their room, but it's going to be a real quarantine, not kind of a loosey-goosey.
Yes.
David doesn't want to do it. I mean, when they first came out with this quarantine, I said, there's no quarantine, it's voluntary. He's been good at keeping them away, letting them know that if they come here, they're supposed to, so they cancel their trip. But the ones that come here now figured it out. And they're given, where are you staying? I'm staying with a friend, a relative. And so they're scamming the system, and they're getting cheap airfare. And then the airlines are advertising, $149 fares to Hawaii. They got to be our partners in this.
Frustrating. It's frustrating. And I just had a text from a woman that flew from Outer Island yesterday, came back home. No one even checked her at the airport. No one even checked her at the airport. And, you know, this is what Charlie and I have been talking about for a long time, because we get these HTA reports every day that says 4 people came to Lihui, 3 people came to Lihui, or 0 people came to Lihui. But the HTA report only counts the passengers that fly direct into Lihui, which is only one. Only Delta flies 3 times a week. All of those that get off in Honolulu and walk to the inner island to get here, the connecting flights from Arkansas, from New York, from Vegas, they get off the plane in Honolulu, they get counted with the Honolulu numbers. They don't get counted for the Kauai numbers. So we don't have a damn clue how many visitors we have on this island right now. And that girl that just texted me, yeah, she lives here, but she should have been checked. Someone should have checked on her. And where are you coming from? Where did you come from?
Where did she come from? Where did she go through, and where did she not get checked? She was coming from Honolulu, or she came from
Honolulu to Lihui. Honolulu to Lihui.
And they never did anything in the airport.
No one. She just texted me right now. No, she just no.
I mean, you know, the temperature checking, they can do it even automatic with like the things on the wall. You just pass it by and it registers like the speed traps. When you go by, it says you're going 25 miles an hour in a 20-mile-an-hour thing. I mean, this is not, the technology is there. It's not rocket science. But Mel and Charles, the political will and people on the same sheet of music. You've got a different song on the 5th floor, as you know, between some of the people who are in the executive and some in the other area. And quite frankly, with what Speaker Saiki and Sylvia Luca are going to say, you know, the House is not going to be down and out, just sitting on the sidelines. They see a lot of this dissonance. And quite frankly, Bob, that's the purse. That's where you guys on that committee are probably going to be very influential.
Yeah.
They're not going to put up with all this. What do we do now?
Nonsense.
Bottom line is, in every crisis, you need a Rudy Giuliani. We don't have a Rudy Giuliani.
You know, they talk about the contact tracing. They come up with this. You need this special skills. You cannot just blah blah blah. The federal government released $50 million today for contact tracing for Hawaii. $50 million today.
Huge. To do with the telephone and to interview.
So I suggested to some of the legislators, go bring back some of the retired cops. They're all trained in interviewing interrogation techniques.
That's a great point.
You don't got to pay them benefits. You just put them on a contract, pay them a decent wage, or whatever a sergeant or detective's pay is, and you send them out.
Mel, got 2 of them right here. Got 2 of them on this show, retired cops.
Hey,
that's the freaking problem. That's a freaking problem. You know. The problem with all this is go ahead. I'm sorry, Gene.
No, Mel, they're talking about nurses at the University of Hawaii, or the pre-med and the other students at UH. That was the one that Lassner, if you remember, when he came on after EGAY in the press conference today, that they've got that cadre that they're going to train. There's a couple hundred of them. And then Anderson said at the peak, there'll be 1,000. If that was put into the testing rather than the tracing, of which with the numbers that we have now, we don't even need anywhere near that, but they want to be geared up for it.
Well, he did say we can surge up to 6,000 tests per day. And I think it's more than that. I really believe it's more than that. But that's whatever it is. Even at 6,000, we should be testing 6,000 a day.
Yeah, and that's a drop in the bucket. If we're going to do, as Bob would say, 10,000, 15,000 visitors, we got to have a capacity just in case they don't get tested on the mainland. And let me say, I've been talking with the White House about, can we do this without all the mother may I from the federal government, the FAA, the DOT? They haven't got back to us yet about that, but they know that we can. It's going to be very difficult for us to open our borders with just anybody and everybody from all over the world who's going to bring that in. And they know we're one of the top 9. That was one of the good things today, Mel and Charles. We're one of the top 9 in the nation for the cases as well as the death rates. I mean, that's something to be proud of. Plus, we live longer than everybody else. So it's just pity.
Guys, my phone's gonna die, and my temperature on the phone's getting too, so I'm gonna sign off. But I want to thank you, Mel, for the opportunity to be on. And I'll get our report to you Sunday night, and then maybe we can come back on again when you have a chance to look at it.
Thank you.
When are you guys releasing? When are you releasing your plan?
Monday morning. So we'll send it to you Sunday night.
Thank you,
Bob,
Bob.
your battery's
I
running
won't-
out.
I promise I won't tell.
Okay.
Oh yeah, nobody's
It's not
watching
quite
this, right?
done yet. So I'm gonna say aloha to you guys. My friend's ready to die, and I don't want to.
Okay, okay. I'm not gonna die with Bob, so if there's
Hospitality.
Okay, Bob, thanks. We'll get you guys
Thank
over
you,
after
guys.
this thing. Well, thank
Thank
you,
you,
my
Bob.
friend. Stay
Thank you,
safe.
guys. God bless.
Aloha.
God bless.
Bill, am I supposed to sign off too then, or what?
No, no.
No, man, no.
Okay,
no,
I didn't know Bob didn't have his battery going.
Yeah.
Okay, that sometimes is a, well, that's a technology problem, is it?
Well, you know,
Oh.
now I wanted to share something with you. You talked about the asymptomatic. And
Yes.
so I got involved with this show with Mel because I took this personally because my brother was in contact. His girlfriend was asymptomatic. He developed COVID. They live in New York. My brother contracted COVID,
Oh,
and within a week he died from COVID. So that's why I know about how asymptomatic will come strolling in. Because when I talked to him last, he had just gotten over the fever, and the doctors told him if you wait 3 days without a fever, you're pretty much over the hurdle. Well, it was just 1 day, and then he got admitted, and he never spoke again because they had to ventilate him. So I just want everybody to know, when you talked about asymptomatic, that is a problemsome spot, especially when they come to the airport, because they think that asymptomatic, you have no outward signs, but yet you're still a carrier. And then when you pass it on to someone whose immune system might not be as strong as yours, they become that collateral damage right at that point. And that's
because
something.
that in itself is enough reason to really be a strong protest. I mean, to test and test because of that. That is one of the most logical ways, because this is a very tricky, wily virus. And when it plays around like that, the only way you're going to defeat it is to test it. You got to identify. It's like the fireman said the other day. First thing you got to do is find out where the fire is. You can't put it out until you find out where the fire is.
Right.
That's where we got to find out where that thing is. Isolate it, zap it. And what you said earlier about the Peace Corps, you know, I took chloroquine for a number of years when I was in the jungles of Borneo. So I know that that thing works against malaria. And the chloroquine version of the hydroxychloroquine, some of those things are working miraculous stuff. Did Charles, your brother-in-law, get any of those experimental try medicines, or just went unavailing?
My brother had the experimental drug, but then it started to show signs it was getting a little bit too harsh for his heart, because one of the side effects of COVID was his blood started to coagulate too fast because he was being dialyzed at the same time. So when he was on that hydroxychloroquine, his heart was kind of really unstable, so he had to back off. And it's just a really tough. It's a tough ballet, boy. You know, you want to be as smooth as possible, but you know, there's real. And this was early on in April, early parts of April.
Oh, from the openers. Charles, he wasn't in the 70s or 80s though, was he? No.
No, he's 63 years old.
63, because you know, just about 70 to 80% of all the deaths on the mainland have been in the long-term care homes, and people who are above 60 and above, it's like 75, 80%.
Yeah.
So it's like that group. And that's another thing, Mel and Charles. When we saw that demographic, we should be surrounding with resources and support to our long-term care centers, our nursing homes, where we know those kapuna are the more vulnerable. And I don't think we've done that. We just passed a bill 2 days ago that's going to have an outreach to them and what support they may need. We should have done that 6-8 weeks ago, using the case in point in Washington and New York, where the long-term care homes were really an epicenter for the virus.
Well, you know, here on Kauai, just to let you know, sir, two of the state hospitals here, Mahilona and KVMH, when this pandemic came out, because I have a security contract at these two hospitals, and they immediately responded with a very strict protocol. No visitors, everything was on for the kupuna care. So
but did they test the staff though, Charles?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
They did test. Okay, that's terrific. That's terrific, because these other places were not even in the staff was passing it around to the various patients and elderly people.
No, they were very strict about it. They're very.
Okay. Thank you guys of all the islands. I've got the best numbers, right?
Yeah.
Hawaii has the best numbers.
If you don't have anything to do in that long-term care, like security, unless we get called in there, none of my personnel can go even near the floor. That's how strict it is. So even if you're a nurse, but you're not assigned to that floor, you cannot go on that floor. Plain and
So
simple.
Charles, where did those marching orders come from? From the mayor or from the leadership in that particular hospital?
The leadership in the hospital.
Okay, see, that makes a huge difference. What are the numbers on Kauai, Mel? What are you guys in terms of, I think you got the best island numbers.
We have 0 active cases. We've been at 0 for quite a while. We've had 21 cases, positive cases since the beginning. But we haven't had a case now for well over 2 weeks, probably, in fact, no, a month.
Well, so you have a real interest to make sure whoever's coming on your shore is pretty pristine, clean, and not carrying any of the virus. I mean, if you got a clean bill of health.
We always question the number of tests because we didn't have the number of tests that Honolulu was doing, and we didn't test much. So, not saying that we had a lot of positives. I would guess we have a bunch of people on this island that did contract the virus, just didn't have any symptoms. They were never tested. So I don't know how many people on this island actually had the virus and didn't know.
Did you guys do antibody testing? That's how they do how many people were exposed. Did you ever do Kauai antibody testing? That's the prick in the finger.
We have 3 test sites now that I know the state did lighten the requirements. They did ease up. I mean, there was a time when, this, Rep, that you couldn't get a test until you had all the symptoms.
Yeah, you had to be walking half dead.
Yeah. And we had spoken to, like Charlie said, we're both former cops. We talked to a lot of people. We talked to the labs. There was never a real, except for early on, there was never a shortage for tests. We always had the testing available, and we just never did. And I question that as to what is Kauai's real numbers. But having said that, we still believe, Charlie and I still believe that we are relatively virus free because it's been so long. And I think the early action from our mayor and the administration did play a key role in that. But every day we're getting visitors. Every day we're getting untested visitors. And that is going to disrupt this whole thing. And that's what I'm genuinely afraid that we're going to see some spikes.
Is the mayoral power of authority able to do some of the things independently of the governor, or is it a mother may I that goes up the food chain even through to the federal? And in other words, if what Bob and I talked about, and it's a great honor being with you guys, if what we talked about, you guys could implement, does the mayor, Paul Cummey, have the power to do that? If he had the leadership and the political will to do so, and I'm not judging where he does or he doesn't, but does he have any capacity to do that at the county level rather than wait until the state or the feds give a nod?
He controls the county, so he can control whatever happens on the county property. He can do. Today he just extended the quarantine for another month. The governor, when they had that little mess up with the communications with the beaches, with Maui and the Big Island. And then the governor came in his proclamation and said all county emergency orders got to be approved through him. So if it's going to be part of the mayor's emergency declaration, then it has to get approved by the governor. Like the governor said today, he's being very flexible with the mayors. He's pretty much giving the mayors the authority to do what they want to do. And in fact, the mayor announced today that he extended the quarantine for an additional month on Kauai.
So the mayor has the power to extend his island's, his county quarantine. And that's where the Josh Green option comes in. Look, you don't want to go to the quarantine? Go get tested, go to a Walgreens, go to a CVS, and then show us that you're cleared and you don't have to go into quarantine. Now that's a practical way to get Derek to do what you guys and all of us are trying to do, is to get the testing going. if
Yeah.
they opt out of the 14-day quarantine. Now, are all the guys coming on your island going into quarantine? You know, is there a strict regimen of?
What I know is that our police department and the National Guard, they are making checks at the addresses of the hotels, the residences that they're putting on that paper when they come off the plane. But what we're finding on Kauai is they're putting bogus addresses. They're not, in other words, they're putting an unverifiable address, and they're saying they're staying with friends or family, and that is creating a problem. Or they're coming in with one night reservation at a hotel, but they're staying here longer. The last guy they arrested and sent back home came in with a one night's reservation, and he was planning on staying here. He was planning on being homeless here. So those are the things that when we talked with Senators De La Cruz and Mercado Kim and all of them, was that we got to get that tighter at the airports, that if we cannot verify the address, they don't, like you said, don't leave the airport. Whether it's 12 hours, 15 hours, if you don't provide an address that can be verified, you ain't leaving the airport.
It
has to be that way.
Now, given what you just said, the state of the art then is saying that, hey, inevitably you guys are going to get more cases. Then it's going to come back. It's the way that, unless it gets really tightened, and if there's not testing, this is going to come back. And that seems to be something Anderson Park will accept. Oh yeah, we're going to get more cases. We just don't want to have a second wave. I don't think we should play the game where we should be assuming that we're going to get more cases. Because you guys have, how long did you say you stamped it out for? 2 weeks, 3 weeks, more?
No, we've been almost 4 weeks.
Over a month.
That's going to be head of the nation then. The county of counties.
Dr. Behrman from the Department of Health recommended that until we get 2 solid incubation cycles, which would be 28 days, then nothing would be open. So we waited for that 2 complete cycles. So it's well over a month now. Then that's when Derek started lifting the curfew. So we don't have the curfew anymore. And so, yeah, we're well over a month with no cases.
So the danger is those coming into the airport, and if you know you're clean on the land, it's those who are landing that are going to be bringing it. So you guys should be the one who are out in front of the crowd, cheerleading on what to do.
The other thing Kauai does is they have the police department and the National Guard. They have a checkpoint. Everybody that leaves the airport has to go through the checkpoint. We can do that on Kauai because we're very small. We only have one. They blocked off the second exit. We only got one exit. So everybody comes through that. Everybody gets their documents checked. Again, it's difficult because we don't know if the information they're providing as far as where they're going is verified. So,
but you say they were not doing? No, you said they were not doing temperature checks at Kauai Airport, or they were?
Temperature check?
Yeah.
No, they're doing temperature. I think they do temperature checks off of all of the mainland people. But like I said, my friend who just came in today from Honolulu didn't get any check. Interesting.
A little bit loosey-goosey as it goes. But my sense is we're going to get through this, but we've just got to be a little bit more prone to be a step ahead of it and not just kind of assume certain things, because we got to go back to being normal. We're not a society built to be passive and sedentary. I mean, we've got an economy that was roaring on. We're like as I said earlier, a NASCAR that's sitting in the garage. We're barely able to start it up every couple of days. And we were going gangbusters in terms of the economy, innovation, creative stuff. I mean, this is an international era that we're shining in, and we're just kind of like sitting in the water. It's like the Hokulea before it landed in Tahiti. They were in 3 days in the doldrums. I don't know if you guys remember this, but that's when they started fighting each other. In fact, Ben Finney, who was on my dissertation committee, got the crap beat out of him just before they arrived in Tahiti, because they were dead in the water for 3 days before they arrived. And that may be an unfair analogy, but it's where a lot of people are getting pretty stir crazy and want to get back to doing what they're wired and made to do.
Well, you know, we've always said this before. Again, you know, we've been fortunate because we've had on, you know, like the lieutenant governor. We brought in some of the general managers from hotels because, you know, we're talking about opening up the economy.
How about the airlines, Charles?
Yeah, no, not the airlines. We haven't brought in anyone from the
Peter
airlines.
Ingram, we got booked for tomorrow. There'll be a second meeting with him. You might want to, because I think they could do it independently if they wanted to. He might be one you might want to talk to at some time.
Okay, we'll reach out to them. But you know what we told everybody, and they kind of, and you know, I've even mentioned this to the lieutenant governor. We have the ability now that we basically have scrubbed the Hawaiian Islands clean, pretty much. Now's the time to restart in a smarter way. Now's the time. You're giving a second chance. If we're gonna bring back tourism, we want to make sure you bring it back in a smarter way. Because before we're just living off the fat. We just didn't care about anything. Just let them run free and all these problems. Everything that's associated, we all know now that unless we get tourism back and it's that influx of new cash, we'll be taking the $10 bill that we have and it'll just be going from island to island. It won't be growing. So you need an influx. But yet, how do we have that influx and have it safe and as well as safety involved? That's the real question. And I think what you said with and the lieutenant governor had said this, is have them tested before they even get on the plane.
Bingo.
What's so hard about that?
That's our premise.
That would be, I think that would be key. Then we can just open up and let them be tested before they even reach here.
Charles, you make a very good point about the economy and a chance to innovative and creatively change some certain things. But we got to get the tourism economy, as much as we kind of resent it to a degree, it's still one of the mainstays and we got to get it kickstarted. But I would argue that our economy doesn't fit the needs of our people. Bob McDermott's got 8 kids. His job does not pay enough to support 8 kids. Or say he had 15 kids, he'd have to have 2 or 3 jobs. Our economy, the way it supports our people, nobody's really, there's a few people who make money, but generally people are just making it. Half of the people supposedly are paycheck to paycheck. So what we've created is basically a defense industry and a visitor industry, and we haven't diversified to Hollywood of the Pacific. If we gave a few more tax credit, we could get many, many more movies. Space and astronomy, that's NASA waiting for us to make more of that. The Sports Center of the Pacific, we haven't pushed that one either. My point is we have to be a bit more entrepreneurial and creative because what we've got doesn't really support the people that we have that are dependent upon our economy. And a lot of people, you know, it's great that people come out of law school and social workers and not, but we don't have enough people who are thinking economically and entrepreneurially. And that's the stuff that we need to get this economy. But it is an opportunity, as you said. Now let's do it right. Let's redo it. How can you shut down a $10 billion person industry and then say, okay, how are we going to reinvent that baby again? That's a real challenge. Alan Noshima is supposed to be one of the guys that's going to lead that or navigate us through a new opening. We'll have to see what they come up with probably next week, actually.
There's a great model right now, and that's what gets me. We've been over 2 months now, or close to 2 months anyway. I lost track of time, but
yeah,
there's a great
just
model, right?
Yeah,
about 2 months, yeah.
Yeah, exactly, almost 2 months.
That's the troubling
the
part.
legislature 2 months ago.
How can we not have figured this out? See, because it's not that nobody wants the tourists to come. We just don't want infected tourists to come.
Hey, there you go.
We don't want infected tourists to come. A lot of our people are home, not working and struggling and suffering. A state can't even pay them an unemployment check. And it's not that we don't want the tourists. We just want to make sure that our people are safe. But there's a model out there right now for dogs. Right?
What do you mean? Dogs?
You want to bring a dog to Hawaii from the mainland?
Oh,
you
yeah.
go through a process.
Yeah, you get
That
your
process-
shots.
You go to your vet. You got to go
Great
get a
example.
physical. You got to go take your blood test, and you get this clearance, and then you come in and you still got to quarantine. I mean, that model. I'm not saying you stuck them in a kennel. You still can, like Bob says, put them in or was it you that said put them in a hotel room with air conditioning? That's all cool. But how do we protect our people, our kupuna, our kids, the people with weak immune systems? How do we protect them? I cannot imagine it's that difficult to implement some sort of mandatory testing for anybody who wants to come to Hawaii. If you have a bottle of water in your hand carry bag, you ain't getting on that plane. You ain't getting past the checkpoint. But if you got COVID-19, Come right on in.
Good
That's
example.
what pisses me off. Why can't we put our heads together, all these brainiacs up wherever the hell they are, and figure out, listen, rather than try to think up all the reasons why we shouldn't be testing. No, let's look at all the reasons how. It wouldn't be difficult. You go, you know, instead of 2 hour pre-check, you come in 3 hours. You got to go through a testing station. Why
You
can't
s-
we do that?
You're still giving me the idea that you guys are the ripest example and maybe the model. If all the city council and the mayor were sitting around and listening to you as a resolution or proposal, would everybody vote for what you just said? Let us take our island and be an example to the rest of the state, that we will have a requirement, like you said with the animal quarantine, that you will be certified clear of COVID-19 before you arrive on our shores on Kauai. Would the city council and the mayor back you guys? Charles, would they back you?
I think it's a try, but you know we've been sounding his horn a lot, but like
And
anything else, you know, we want to be practical about whatever we do, but you know I guess I'm saying this very gingerly because the numbers are so low. Maybe that's something that they may not look at, but I'm kind of looking at the long, like what Mel said, look at the long term, because if there should be an uptick, we got to stop the uptick before it even happens, right? That's what you would want to do.
Exactly. I hear your frustration, but I see the example that you are by your numbers, which to me again goes back to, okay, scientific and measured responses, but also the political will and leadership. And that's what's going to get us out of this. I said earlier, everybody needs a Rudy Giuliani in a crisis. And I think we're still waiting for one to emerge on that one. Anyways, Mel, I'm not kicking the ball back in your court, but it sounds like you guys have got a better start with the numbers than just about anywhere in the islands.
Well, I think we got the best system. I think we do. I think because, you know, obviously we're much smaller. Our airport is smaller. It's much more manageable. But we are dealing with the things that we can control. The problem is there's no way the county can mandate anyone be tested before they get on a plane in New York. And there's no way the mayor and the council can do anything to require them to be tested at the Honolulu airport. So once they reached on Kauai, you know, I think Kauai is doing what they can to make sure that they're in quarantine. But you know, there's a lot of pukas,
But
and
Mel, the LG, Josh Green checked with the AG. Hey, okay, we can't manifest testing, but we can say we can quarantine you. And before they get on the plane in the Bronx or whatever, you say, look, if you're going to go to Kauai, you're going to have either a 14-day quarantine, or you can choose to get tested. You just give the certificate to the airline and you have no quarantine. You got an exemption to the quarantine. That we can do legally. And I think pretty much Josh got it. I don't know if it was in writing, but it never got a block from the Attorney General as to we can do quarantine because we're already doing quarantine. But if we want to say, look, you want us to lift quarantine, it's an option by which then you can do the testing. I think that's a logical step to getting visitors to know that there's a better way than who's going to come to, if we got this quarantine. In fact, this is what I tweeted out yesterday. If we're going to go from what the director of health said yesterday, he wants to do 2 more months of 14-day quarantine for visitors. That tells me we're going to be suffocating the economy for 2 more months, because as long as there's a 14-day quarantine, nobody's going to, well, unless there's a few people who are coming, there's not going to be a resurgence of the visit industry. So we're dead in the water for the next 2 months if we follow the Department of Health, Bruce Anderson, and Sarah Park, and the governor who usually follows. That scares me, because I think within 2 months, the rest of the nation is going to be open, and we're going to have a trickle of visitors, and it's not going to be nice for anybody, especially if any of them come who don't get tested and they make some kapunas. It's not a good scenario. As Representative McDermott said, it almost is criminal if we knowingly let somebody come into the state with the virus and kill some of our people. I mean, that's criminal in itself.
Yes.
let me read a text I just got from my friend Rhonda. And this is kind of going to be
Wrap up. Yeah.
we're at the end of the night, but
Yeah.
check this out. I think this is cool. It says, "Hoy, okay, let me draw a picture. When someone gets ukus, you cannot go school. You gotta treat the whole house. You gotta stay home until get the all clear. This virus is like ukus. School is our state. House is their states. If your house get ukus, don't come to our state."
There you go. Beautiful.
So
A
as
poet.
unconstitutional as it is to not allow somebody with this virus in, I mean, now somebody gonna challenge the uku law because you cannot keep my kid out of school because he get ukus.
Thank you guys for what you do. No, seriously, and Charles, I hear such good
Thank you.
things about your show. It's an honor to have been on it. And thank you
Thank you
guys
very
for
much.
serving as policemen. Thank you so much for doing that.
Well,
Thank you.
we'll have you guys back after you reveal your plan. We'll have you guys back, and I'm dying to see how that's received. Oh, here goes Charlie.
Oh, the theme song is coming up, right?
Oh, you heard about did you hear about the theme song?
Is it better than Frank de Lima's?
We'll let you to be the judge, but okay. But again, thank you. I know you guys are busy right now, and I appreciate you taking the time to come
We're
on
going to
the
be
show.
in session for 2 weeks, Mel and Charles. They just upped it another 4 days, so it's 2 weeks. So we're going to be around. If we can be any help, let us know, and we'll let you know how this thing is received. But thank you for letting us tee it up tonight on your show. Thank you and blessings.
We had a good time. So basically, we started this. I've been doing a Facebook Live for almost 2 years now, every
Really?
Wednesday. But when COVID started, we started Charlie and I partnered up, and we do this stuff every night, every single night.
But no
And
kidding. Wow, you guys are disciplined. Whoa.
And the whole idea was to flatten the curve and to get Kauai and all our viewers to help with flattening the curve. And we told everybody to follow the rules. Stay at home. Don't touch your face. Wash your hands. Social distancing. And they didn't listen. So
Thank
Charlie
you.
and I came up with an idea. We would be deputized, and we would go out and be on a COVID patrol, and we would go arrest all of these bad guys, all of these COVIDians, do the
The
boys.
COVID.
And the punishment would be that they would have to spend 24 hours straight with us.
See,
Well, that didn't work.
Mel and Charles, that's what's great about America. People taking the initiative like you guys, not waiting for government, not doing Mother May I, taking it and using your head and doing it and helping the community. Thank you guys and blessings to you. I'm checking out
Okay,
and
well-
thank you for the honor. Aloha.
Well, hang on, because we're not done.
Oh,
we're gonna
we're
finish
not
right
done.
now.
Okay. I didn't know I had the honor to.
song. So basically,
Okay.
Charlie wrote this song special for this occasion, and it's really to tell
Flatten.
people if you guys cannot flatten the curve, then we are gonna flatten your ear. So Charlie, ready?
Good night, everybody. Hello.
Okay.
Hey,
Aloha.
Take care. You guys have a good night. Stay safe.
Thank
We'll
you,
see guys
guys.
tomorrow night. We have Representative Okimoto at 7 o'clock. We're gonna be talking about the prisoner release program. God bless you guys. We love you. Take care.
Aloha.
Aloha.